the stairs. So, here, let me help you once you get around this corner. Can I take this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's books. I got books.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's what I need.
Okay, so you get first choice on your room.
Oh.
Let me show you. We'll just leave your stuff here for a moment so you can like look around. That's
First choice.
Yeah, and I think there'll only be 2 people in this room.
Wow. Just looks really good, you know?
It's a lot of texture. So I will say that at this moment, this side of the building is cooler, but in the morning, so the sun rises over here and sets over there. So it depends on, I guess, your poison in terms of heat.
Oh wait, that's someone's living there.
Those are the interns living there. So.
It's so good.
Yeah, so you don't have to choose right now. Clearly, no one else is here yet, but
Yeah.
so I'll let you ponder on it. There's some options. And then, yeah, I mean, the rest of today is just you like exploring and.
The history is embedded in this place. It is an archive and a time capsule of 60 years of this town and also 60 years of like America. And rather than like sell this stuff or get rid of it or put it away or turn it into a stale museum, we're actually going to invite some of the most creative, critical, engaged minds of our generation to come in and use these things to make works that become publicly available and interactive and engaged, and at the same time rethink what the museum can be in the 21st century. That was kind of our goal. That was kind of our idea, is to let this space speak through a process of continued arrangements and rearrangements. To assume that the page already is filled with words, it's just a matter of putting them in order. Myself and Stephanie came down to Greensboro actually for a concert. But the next morning, I was like, you gotta check out my grandmother's old store. It's been locked up for 6 years and no one knows what to do with it. So what if we were to come down here and move into the store and decide that nothing would be for sale and nothing would leave, and instead treat it like this massive puzzle or this sort of singular set, this archive. The idea of a collection comes from the idea that this is a museum, or that it's a store where nothing's for sale that became a museum. Like every artist that's reinstalling another artist's work or it's transforming the rooms, they're like constantly responding to all these other conditions. They're having to work with these other materials.
13 years of doing this. That bottom just broke.
It was actually a 13-hour endurance. He held this tower for 13 hours. And he stood on this glass here.
He held it.
Yeah, he held it it was leaning like this. So he was basically, it was symbolic of our organization, which has been around for 13 years. And he listened to that while he held it for 13 hours. And he didn't take any snack breaks. He didn't eat, he didn't use the bathroom. He literally just stood here. And when he started, this glass was whole, and then over the 13 hours, it all just like kind of disintegrated into these like tiny shards. So we're kind of trying to decide the next steps for the installation.
It's cool thinking of this place as like a world, you know, or like an ecosystem. Like we only have the resources we have and you have to use them wisely. And I mean, I can only imagine how daunting it would have been to like decide you were gonna do this with this space. And also, if you think about all the artists who have come before, I mean, someone put windows in this room. So it's kind of cool too that it's like this, almost like home improvement meets art.
You know, I read about it as this living museum, and my first impression was, oh, you know, I can just delve in and use the materials as I see fit. And then you come here and you realize that there's there's an order to the madness embedded in this object. There's a particular time period, a certain set of associations and meanings that I may have, but also those who've grown up in the soul may have an even stronger or different set of associations and meanings. But understanding that it feels like layering time on top of itself.
I get a call from George Shear, the founder of Elsewhere, who was seeing some of the stuff I was posting, and he said, you know, hey, if you want to use your time here, Elsewhere support you.
At Elsewhere, I am filling this room with mirrors. And then I'm going to put in a 4-channel surround sound music piece, and then I'm going to fill it with LEDs from the top. So hopefully then the LEDs will reflect. But aesthetically, the place looks great where it is right now. Because the thought of moving all the mirrors was painful. But I think the thought of working in here was painful because there's just so much dangerous glass everywhere. But I'm doing it.
It's different from other residencies where you really just get like an empty room and you're just supposed to do your work, right? I mean, there's a lot of interesting demands of this space, and we had to come up with concepts really quickly, which was pretty overwhelming.
Elsewhere can be a really challenging space, and it's more and more challenging the more you try to resist it.
Really cool, don't they? See what they fit in.
Well, we need a washer.
Will that work?
Probably. Yeah, just the spacing. We need a washer.
Okay. Well,
And there's some on the 3rd floor. There's not the
here, see, does this washer work?
We need like 6 of them.
Yeah, well, if I know it. And then use this anchor.
Why is this for this?
Yeah, I think so. Try it out there.
You only have one of these.
No. There are many. And I know.
Who's Manny?
I need an extension cord.
I saw one somewhere recently. I saw one right...
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is the title of the piece. I imagine you coming in and seeing this armoire that is stacked to the brim with all these dishes that are just shaking and shaking, with the rumbling of audio that, because the speaker has been deconstructed and is facing in on the armoire. I want you to get this sense of the building anticipation of the arrival of somebody.
I like the AC.
I like the movement.
My dad worked at Burlington. It was a textile factory which moved overseas, and my mom worked at Converse, where they made the shoes, which moved overseas as well. So when I first started like making artwork, right, it was all about race. So you realize that like race is a huge issue that doesn't get talked about enough. However, like class is like a really big deal, right? I have essentially right now like 3 ways that I make work, right? So I make paintings, I do wheat paste installation, and I make found object sculptures. So I'm taking this room that is 10 by 10 by 4.5 feet, and it's becoming a microcosm of one of these communities that are affected by the war on drugs and mass incarceration. In the South, we have like a certain culture, right? And I want to be part of articulating what that is.
I'm very comfortable with other artists coming in and building upon it. I feel like in keeping with the concept of it, I'm opening it up to be destroyed and reassembled into something new. Because you have to allow a certain self to die in order for a new self to be born.
I was just giving a tour to this woman today, and she came into the space. Went through all 3 floors, and when she came back down and walked out onto the street, she was like, "Oh, and the world is here." And it was that moment of having gone through the entire building, room by room, all these moments that are all just like flashes as you pass through so many different spaces compressed, and so many different objects that at every moment it's like that's from the 80s, that's from the 60s, that's from the 70s, that's from the 90s. At every moment you're seeing time compressed, and you're seeing everything present all at once and configured in unique ways, that by the time you walk out of the space and you step back onto the street, the world becomes strange. And that's what Elsewhere needs to be doing. That's what Elsewhere does.